Hi friends. So we went through 5-day challenge together, technically 6 because the first day was a bonus day where we did our typing resource, and I had so much fun getting to share not just stuff about the Enneagram, but my hope is that it was specific information that allowed you to understand that the Enneagram is a map for personal growth and development. And if you were following along, especially on my last day, and you had this little worksheet with you, 5-day Enneagram challenge, which if you haven't checked it out yet, it's available inside the Facebook group for you to download, print off, or use on your device like I am. And I talked about 4 things that you need in order to grow in the Enneagram. And the first one was understanding your Enneagram types patterns, understanding patterns. Until we know the patterns of our type, we often don't notice them. I can't tell you how many times a teacher or my mentor would tell me, you know, 3s do X, Y, and Z when they feel overwhelmed. And I was like, I don't do that. I don't withdraw and become a shell of a human and disengage from everything. I work harder. And I was so convinced that I knew what I did when I was overwhelmed and stressed. But once she told me that, it stuck in my mind. And next day, I was overwhelmed and stressed. And lo and behold, I was totally withdrawing and disengaging from my family, from myself, from the world. And I had to stop in that moment and just say, oh my gosh, I'm doing exactly what she told me my type did. Have I really been living this unaware my whole life? I feel like I'm a pretty self-aware person, but the thing about our types patterns is that they have become so interwoven into our subconscious, into our instincts, right? Our brains make these shortcuts that we aren't even necessarily choosing to do. Half of the things that we do, they are simply learned behaviors that happen automatically. And until someone mentioned it to me, until I understood the patterns of my type and learned the framework of the Enneagram, I was completely unaware that that was happening. But then the second thing that we need for making growth is we need to understand, what does it look like for me? What does it look like for me? What does it look like for me? Because someone can tell me, well, this is what theoretically 3s do in the Enneagram patterns. And I'll be like, oh, that's very interesting information. But oftentimes when we see people who are very self-aware but have not transformed, right? They have done a lot of self-observation, but not a lot of transformation. It's because they have kept the information at an arm's distance. They have said, oh, let me learn about this in theory. Let me intellectually be able to identify the patterns. And yet I'm not aware of where it's happening in my life. So we not only have to understand the patterns, we have to know, what does it look like for me? We have to do some journaling. We have to do some symptom recognition, right? If you go to a doctor and say, I'm sick, they're going to ask you, what are the symptoms? And if we're not aware of what those symptoms look like, the doctor can't help us. There's nothing he can do until he has the data of what it looks like for us to experience what we're experiencing. And so it's the same with our spiritual health or our soul health. If I don't know what it looks like for me, I can't make progress. I'm still in the dark. And then the third thing that we talked about that we need, now we know our patterns types, we know what it looks like for us. The third thing that we need to do, and I talked about this in the last video, we need to reaffirm our truth and our healing message. Reaffirm truth. And I talked about the healing message for each type as being like a fortress. Because all of our types, we become what we need to become. We put on our armor to be in the world because we feel like we are disconnected from source love. We feel like we're disconnected from safety, from being held, from being cared for. The minute I start thinking I'm not held, I'm not cared for, I'm not safe, I'm not provided for, I'm not loved, I'm not significant, I have been disconnected from the source of all those things, I have to fabricate it myself. Therefore, I am outside of the fortress. I'm outside of protection. And if our type is like our armor, and there are all these arrows coming in, and you tell me, hey, Vanessa, stop overachieving. That's what you need to do to be healthy in your type as a 3. I'm like, overachieving is my armor, and there are arrows everywhere. So you can take that advice and shove it up your you know what, because I am not taking off my armor when there are arrows everywhere. And so what reaffirming the healing message does for us is it says, wait a minute, am I really in a place where there's arrows everywhere, or have I just fabricated that, and am I actually safe? Is it a perceived separation from divine source? Have I felt like that's what's true, but is what actually true that I've always been supported, I've always been connected, I've always been safe? The minute we reaffirm truth, for me, Vanessa, you have worth. You don't have to fabricate it. Type 2s, you are loved. You don't have to earn it. Type 1s, you are good. You don't have to become good enough. Type 4s, you have significance. You don't have to create your own meaning. Type 5s, you are safe and secure and provided for. You don't have to be competent enough to provide for yourself. Type 6s, you are secure and supported. You don't have to find support and fabricate safety for yourself. 7s, you are satisfied. You are connected to the source of all satisfaction. You don't have to keep finding it for yourself. And 8s, you are safe. If you're betrayed, you are strong enough and you are held by something greater that you will not fall apart. And type 9s, you are connected and in unity with everyone and everything. You don't have to fabricate peace. It's already there for you, right? As we affirm that healing message, and that's an oversimplification. There's nuance there that we have to, it's going to feel a little different for each type. That's like the most basic form that I just went through of each type. So it takes knowing what does it look like for me to be in my patterns, and what healing message have I forgotten? And once I affirm that healing message, I'm in the fortress and I'm safe in that fortress. And now if you tell me take off your armor, well, I'm in the fortress. There's no arrows. So yeah, get this thing off me. It's hot, it's heavy, it restricts my movement, it restricts my motion. So the last thing that we need to do is participate in growth activity or growth actions or the things that we haven't been able to do before because we've been stuck in our personality. Participate in growth. But here's the thing. Most Enneagram teachers or therapists or people who are trying to help you grow, they're going to go straight from, we've got to look at your patterns. Well, actually, if you don't have the Enneagram, you don't really know that part. But we got to know your patterns. We have to see what it looks like for you. And then we're just going to skip over the reaffirming truth, and I'm going to tell you how to be better. You can't tell someone who's in the middle of an arrow battle and a bloody fight to take off their armor. We can't tell ourselves to take off our armor until we are safe. That's why I talk a lot about self-compassion in coaching. That's why I talk a lot about regrounding ourselves, reparenting ourselves, reconnecting ourselves to source love, to divine abundance. Until we reaffirm the healing message of our type, we cannot do the growth work. That's the biggest thing that I see. That's the biggest, I do it. I want to skip over that healing message. I want to go straight to the solution. I want to go straight to the healing. I want to fix it. We can't skip over that part. All right, so we have our 4 things that we know we need in order to do Enneagram work. And here's what you need for all 4 of those. You're going to need a guide. You're going to need a guide because guess what? You are not going to know the patterns of your type. You can study them on your own. But just like I said to my mentor, I don't do that. You're going to discount them because we don't see it. right? So you need a guide who's going to ask you those deeper questions and really reveal those patterns to you. And then what does it look like for me? Again, you're going to need a guide to kind of hold you accountable to that self-observation work, the work that's so easy to feel like, oh, that's just tedious. You know, like when your doctor asks you to like write down how many bowel movements you had in a week and you're just like, I don't have time for that, or I don't want to do that. It's like the tedious, dirty work of looking at our symptoms, looking at our spiritual, emotional, cognitive symptoms and taking note of them. That's journal work. That's what a guide holds you to. The guide knows what questions to ask you to make you a little uncomfortable. I'm very good at making people uncomfortable. Did you just hear that I use bowel movements as an example for a professional like training? Anyways, moving on. A good coach is going to make you uncomfortable in the best way. That really digs into some areas that maybe you don't want to look at. But until you look at them, you can't be free from them. And then a guide is the one that's going to come in with that healing message. When I get to sit with my clients and we go through all the things and they're telling me all the things, and then we narrow down and it comes to that moment where I get to tell them the healing message for them, the message that they have forgotten, the message that they haven't internalized, and so they feel like they have to fabricate it themselves. When I remind them of that message, it shakes me. It shakes me to my core to get to come. It's a powerful moment to bring that truth. And it's like you're back on solid ground. It's like you're back on solid ground. You're in the fortress and you can breathe again. It's incredible. So a guide needs to bring in that reaffirming message. And then finally, doing the growth work, taking off the armor. You need a guide. You need a guide to help you not only know what the growth work looks like, but cheer you on when it comes time to actually do it. I had a client that was messaging me and saying, I know I need to say no to this. She was a type 2. She says yes to everyone and everything. She's like, I know I need to say no to this. I know I need to turn this down. And I literally messaged her and I'm like, turn it down, turn it down. And it just takes a guide, a co-journeyman on that map, on that journey. We need others to stand with us and give us the confidence to step up into the growth work that's ours to do. Those are the 4 things we need to do, and all of those 4, you need a guide. I would love to be that guide with you. I have 2 ways that you can work with me, and I hope that these 2 ways excite you. You find your place in one of them, because this work is too powerful to set aside. Now, I'm a firm believer that when it's your time, you're ready for it and you're ready to step into it. And if it's not your time, that's okay. You will know when it's your time to do this work. And when you're ready, I'm right here. So here are the 2 ways you can work with me. The first opportunity that I have is a mentorship. It's a one-on-one mentorship. It's a 3-month-long mentorship with me. We do weekly calls. So you've got 12-hour-long calls with me. And then I'm going to intake for the first call or 2. We're going to figure out where you're at, your starting point. And then I'm going to create a custom curriculum of the Enneagram for you, a custom growth path, custom activities for you to do. That's going to really help you bridge that gap from where you're starting to where you want to end. That's going to take you through all 4 of those steps: understanding the patterns of your type, knowing what it looks like for you, reaffirming that healing message, and then stepping into growth work. And so this is really, it's going to be the biggest investment of money and time of all my programs, but it is the most effective, results-oriented, and intensive mentorship that's really going to move that needle. If you're one of those people that's like, I need someone to walk this through with me because I keep trying and I'm not getting anywhere. I'm trying to get out of my type with the only tools I have, which is the tools of my type. I only know how to overachieve. So when I'm trying to grow, I'm trying to overachieve in my growth, and that just puts me further backwards. And every type has their same thing, and until you just get frustrated. You get to the point where you're hopeless because you're like, I have tried everything that I can think of because I'm this type, and the only things I can think of are these things. I've tried everything, and I need someone to just come and like show me the way to figure this out. And so this 3-month mentorship is you and me making some absolute progress. There is weekly check-ins with metrics of growth, because I'm a 3. We're going to measure your growth. We're going to measure your growth in lots of different areas. Emotional intelligence, self-awareness, courage, peace, groundedness. We're going to measure how you're doing in all these things, and we're going to move that needle. We're going to move that needle. This is a great opportunity for you if you need that in your face work. You need that person to walk with you through this work and actually take all this information of the Enneagram and curate it and pick out the pieces that are for you. We're not going to worry about all the other stuff and fluff. I want you to grow and transform. This is my results-oriented 3-month mentorship. So this opportunity is $3,000 for the 3 months, and you get the weekly calls and all of the metrics that we're going to measure week to week, month to month. We've got a lot of great stuff built into this. And in order to apply, though, you're going to have to fill out an application, and we're going to do an interview first. You can fill out the application and do the interview and decide this is not for you, but we need to make sure this is a good fit. So that's my process. You fill out the application, we have our interview, and then we both decide if this is something we're going to do. Because if it clicks, it's magic. And if it's not meant to be, then I want the best for you and I wish you well. So that is an incredible opportunity. My clients have been in love with this program. The second opportunity is, if you're not ready for that, or you're a little bit more self-guided of a learner, you don't necessarily need that energy with you, driving you every week, working through stuff on a very customized level, but you're like, you know what, I just want some general information and I need a general guide to help me do those 4 steps. So I have a membership called the Freedom Seekers Membership. And it's that whole idea of we're taking off that armor because we want to be free. We want to step into the full range of motion, the full range of our human experience. And so in the Freedom Seekers community, we have every month a different theme, and there's a workshop on the theme. There are journal prompts. So you're going to learn about your patterns of your type, and then I'm going to give you journal prompts to look at how it looks like for you. We have group coaching once a month, which is where, again, I'm going to push you to do some of that growth work while also affirming that healing message. And then there are cohorts within the larger community where you're going to connect in smaller groups with people who are going to be able to send you that message that I sent my client. Turn it down. They're going to stand with you with confidence when you know you have to do some growth work. And it's a little scary. They're going to come around side you. So this community is beautiful. It's a beautiful place to do work. To join this community, it's $100 intake sign-up fee, and you get a 1-hour call with me, which is actually lower than my normal coaching hourly rate. But this way we get to connect right at the beginning of you joining this community. I get to know where you're coming from, where you need to grow, where your struggles are, and I can help you to kind of set up a little plan on the front end. And then it's $29 a month after that. No commitment to stay in any number of months. You can cancel after the first month, or you can stay in with me for years and years, which I hope it provides value to you and that's something you would like to do. But there's no commitment. You're just in it month to month. I give you the topics of each month so you can kind of look ahead and say, all right, I think these are topics that I need. And then we just off to the races, building together, growing together. And that's, you're going to have to show up to the meetings on your own, show up to the workshops on your own. So you have to be a little more self-guided for that second one. But man, if you're willing to show up and do the work, there's some incredible work taking place in that community. So those are the 2 ways to work with me. I hope that this guidance that I bring to you is something that, it just moves that needle. Seeing people stuck just breaks my heart. And all I want to do is come in and help you transform, help the Enneagram be a living tool for you to actually make progress in your life. Thanks so much for being part, and I hope to hear from you soon.